Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and let's talk about Bob Chapek, the Disney CEO. Now, I have been critical of this man in the past on previous videos. There's a lot of reasons to not like what this guy is doing to the Disney company, and this is what happens when you put pencil pushers in the roles of positions that should require people to be creative. Now, I'm not saying Bob Iger was a saint. In fact, I've got a lot of issues with Bob Iger. I think he was instrumental to turning Disney into a franchise-oriented machine rather than someone who breeds creativity. But at the same time, he did let creative people run the departments. He did say, okay, look, John Lasseter, you run Disney Animation and Pixar. Kevin Feige, you run Marvel. Kathleen Kennedy, you run Star Wars. I know some people have mixed feelings about Kathleen Kennedy, but you know, the bottom line is she's a very good producer. She has produced some great movies, and so at least on paper that sounded like it would be a good idea. But recently he's done things like continuously raise the theme park prices, even though people are literally getting squeezed out of the parks, and he took away the power from creative people and gave it to a bookkeeper guy named Kareem Daniel. And most strangely enough, he started taking movies that I think would have done very well at the theatrical box office. Movies like Turning Red, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, and most recently Hocus Pocus 2. I made another video about that, so make sure to check that out. And he put them straight on Disney Plus, where basically they made no money whatsoever. And he really confounds me on why he's doing what he is doing. I think he wants to reshape the company. I think he wants to turn it into a numbers and subscription company, which, for some things that works, but as Netflix found out, you can't survive on subscriptions alone. You need other sources of revenue, and Disney has had other sources of revenue for many, many years. And the fact that they are basically trying to turn their back on those other forms of revenue, at least in terms of their movies, is strange. But he said something that was really off-putting for Disney fans, and I'm going to share it with you, the clip with you right now. Let's take a look.
I always say that when our fans and our audiences put their kids to bed at night after watching Pinocchio or Dumbo or Little Mermaid, they're probably not going to tune into another animated movie. They want something for them.
And so, yeah, that obviously did not sit well with people, especially coming from Disney. You have to keep in mind, when it comes to animation, Disney is still the king. There are competitors out there. Warner Brothers Animation has been making some healthy films. Netflix has really been making some high quality animated movies. And heck, even Nickelodeon has not done terrible. And Sony Animation, they used to be the joke of the industry. And then they made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and The Mitchells versus the Machines, which, was originally titled Connected. And I think that was a much better title for a lot of reasons. And now Sony is stepping up the game. And, these movies have been praised by adults for being wonderful. And it is a shame to think that the CEO of the biggest animation company in the world thinks that adults don't want to watch animation. You would think if anyone would know the power of releasing an animated feature that adults can enjoy just as much as kids do, it would be Disney. After all, Disney was the one that really got adults into animation. Multiple times, in fact. They made, of course, the first animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and Pinocchio, and of course Fantasia, which is still heralded as one of the great movie artistic achievements. They made Lady and the Tramp and Sleeping Beauty, which has some of the most iconic movie moments of all time. And then when animation was kind of on its deathbed, it was just seen as something for kids. Then Disney comes along with The Little Mermaid, which wins an Oscar for Best Song. And then the next year, they released Beauty and the Beast. Well, maybe it was the year after, I forgot. And Beauty and the Beast gets a Best Picture nomination. And people are going to see that movie on date nights. And then they had the idea like, hey, let's hire Robin Williams to be in Aladdin. And it showed that actors could actually bring life to animated characters because of who they were and their talents. And of course, The Lion King, never mind how funny The Emperor's New Groove is. And of course, Frozen. Frozen didn't become a billion-dollar hit just because of kids. It was because adults also loved it. And never mind that things like The Simpsons and Family Guy and South Park have been running for decades now. And it's strange to think that the CEO of Disney, who is supposed to be the top-tier animation king, is basically saying, yeah, animation is for kids, and adults, they want something else when they turn on Disney+. That's why we're going to slowly start moving R-rated content to the platform. It is extremely offensive, and of course on Twitter, it started like a little chain letter reaction for tweets like, animation is for everyone, pass it along. You wonder why Brad Bird left Pixar to take his newest animated film to Skydance, which is now being headed by John Lasseter. It's because these are the people that you have to work with if you work at Disney. In fact, Disney's got a brand new animated film coming out in a couple weeks called Strange New World, I believe. If I got the name wrong, I'm sorry, but it's like some science fiction thing. And basically nobody knows it's coming out. Disney is not doing a very good job of promoting it. And that might be because they don't care if it does well in the theaters. They just want to put it in the theaters for a couple weeks to get their Oscar consideration, and then they want to dump it onto Disney+. Like, cause this is what's happening with Disney and their animation. Like, they released Soul on Disney+. Like, that is not a kid's film. I mean, kids can watch it if they want, but Soul is definitely a film for adults. And then they put Luca onto Disney+, even though families would have loved to have gone to the theaters to see that one. And Turning Red, another movie, mainly for teenage girls and their mothers. Like, I think that would have done very well in the theaters, but it went straight to Disney+. Now, they did put Encanto in theaters, but they basically released it in theaters and said, oh yeah, and after 30 days you can stream it on Disney+. Well, of course no one's going to see Encanto in theaters. They're going to wait for it to go to Disney+. And yet Encanto became like a huge hit. And it's not just kids that loved it, it's adults. And I don't know where Bob Chapek gets by saying things like this. Does he really think that adults don't like Mickey Mouse or cartoons? Me and my wife just went to D23, and there were some kids there. I'm not gonna say that there wasn't, but the vast majority of con attendees were adults. They were adult Disney fans. And why do you think Disney, at least for the time being, can continue to raise the prices? You think a 5-year-old's got money to spend $200 for one day at Disneyland? Never mind the traveling expenses. No, it's the adults. And in fact, you go to Disney parks, you're seeing less kids at Disney, and you're seeing more adults because they've priced the middle family out, or the middle class family, I should say. They have priced them out of Disneyland. And this is the damage that Bob Chapek is doing. And it's really weird for him to have this position because he knows that it's the Disney adults that are keeping the parks afloat. He knows that it's the Disney adults that pay for Disney+. He knows all of this. And yet he makes this claim that adults don't want to see animation. Like, people were going to see Finding Nemo and The Incredibles on date night. These are animated films. And Shrek. Shrek was like one of the first adult animated films to really make a lot of money. And for those of you who say, well, Shrek's more of a family movie. No, go rewatch Shrek 1 and go rewatch Shrek 2. They are not as family friendly as you may remember them. In fact, they are pretty darn adult when you get down to it. So the fact that the head of the biggest animation studio is saying things like, yeah, adults don't like animation, they want to watch their own thing, is an extremely concerning thing for this company. And look, I get it, you're high off the Marvel money, you're high off the Star Wars money. I mean, even though Encanto was not the biggest hit in the world because of the Disney Plus thing, and you see the numbers, that Luca and Hocus Pocus 2 bring into the Disney Plus platform, and it's like, oh, we must be doing something right, even though you're not gaining new subscribers. I don't know. I think it's just a shame that you think that Disney, who had worked so long to try to convince people, like, no, Toy Story 2 is not just for kids. You can go watch it as an adult and you can enjoy it. And yeah, Beauty and the Beast, this is going to be our Best Picture winner. We're going to be the first studio to win an Oscar for Best Picture on animation. The studio who said Inside Out was absolutely worthy of a Best Picture Oscar, even though they didn't get nominated for one. I mean, if this is the attitude that they're going to have under Bob Chapek, then I fear another dark period from Disney, who will basically not make any more ambitious animated projects because the animation's for kids. And heck, we're going to dump it onto Disney Plus for free, so why are we going to spend a lot of money on it? It's very concerning. I don't know where it's leading, but I don't like it, and I think the sooner we get this man out of power, the better. And as a shareholder, I will be voting to not extend his contract when the time comes. Anyway, that's where we are going to leave this video. I'd like to know what your thoughts on the comments are on where Disney is at the moment. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.